I'm proud of being an African American advocate. I'm proud of being part of the community that links up with other communities, Black and brown and Asian and white, to do things that are progressive and uplifting. I was born in Washington, D.C. in 1944, and I'm the third of 4 children. My dad was Charles R. Drew. My mom was Minnie Lenore Drew. My mom was from Philly, and my dad was from Washington. And I lived there during my childhood. I went to segregated schools. I had the very, very best Black teachers in the world, who were all like my mother's. And then I got sent off to Quaker boarding school at age 13, and so I was very influenced by the Quakers. And then that was in Poughkeepsie, New York, and I stayed there for another 4 years at Vassar College. And then it was time to come home, and I went to Howard Law School in Washington. So that's been my journey. Quakers were very politically active in a quiet way. So I learned from them that you can be powerful without being muscular. You know, you can just be part of trying to do better, to help people, to be part of the helping community. And so that's the way I've kind of lived my life, to just be helpful where I can be helpful. It's been very much in keeping of my mother's style. She was a member of the League of Women Voters. She wanted rights for women. Well, my mom was a beautiful woman, quiet, rather elegant, I think. She played the piano. She loved art. She liked to take us to the National Gallery of Art. We didn't have very much money after my father died in a car accident when he was just 45. But she took what little bit we had and just kind of made a life for us. And so we would go to the National Gallery, and we had a little, very modest beach cottage. She just exposed us to a lot of things. And she was a Unitarian, so she would take us to the Unitarian church. They were not as spiritually motivated as Quakers were. They kind of believed in the goodness of people in general and respect for diversity. So the Quakers and the Unitarians kind of were foundational for me. And just her steady drive to raise a healthy, engaged family, although she was really a poor widow with 4 children. My father was a very happy, energetic, driven individual. He liked to do many different things. He was very family-oriented. I remember planting little red flowers with him in our rental home on the campus of Howard University. He never owned a home. And he would dig the hole, and it was my job to put the little red flower in and pull up the dirt. And so I would do that, and I was ready for the next one. He said, "We can't go on to the next one." I said, "Why not? The flower's in the hole." He said, "You haven't done a good job. You have to do a good job. You have to pack the dirt down so the little flower will be protected from the wind and the rain. Pack it." So I would work very hard packing it properly, and then we could move to the next one. He was an engaged dad, although he was very, very busy training physicians at Howard University Hospital. A moment that I won't forget is learning that my father had died in a car accident. 1950. The family's very proud to have a university named for him, to recognize his work and his contribution, not just to our community, but to all communities in his blood work. After his death, because of the myth about the way he died, being somebody who was known for his blood work, and then the myth was he was denied blood and he bled to death. So it's so poignant a story. It's not true, but it will never die because it's very poignant about the condition of Black people in America. That, we've given our blood to this country and we've struggled from day one. So I try to correct the record, but the record won't be corrected. If you come back in 200 years, they'll tell you that he died because he was denied blood. When we moved to our house in Northwest Washington from our Howard University rental, which we could stay in after my father's death, but the house that we moved into was a white neighborhood. And so when my sisters went out to ride their bikes after we first got there, some white children said, "The niggers are coming, the niggers are coming," because they had heard that a Black family was moving in. So it wasn't a welcome situation. Well, there were 4 of us, and the oldest one was Bibi, who was named Bibi by the nurses in New York where she was born, because my father was working on the blood bank at that time, separating plasma from red blood cells and drying it down and preserving it and sending it to the war effort. So it saved thousands of lives. And then Charlene is the number 2, 11 months younger. And she's most like my father, just very bright, very driven. And then I had a wonderful, wonderful younger brother who was like my Bopsy twin, who was just a year and a half younger, Charlie. I had hugely formative experience with Dr. William Montague Cobb, who was one of my father's colleagues. He was a physician. He taught at Howard Medical School for many, many years. And I worked for him when I was a freshman in college. And that was the year of the March on Washington, 1963 March on Washington. 300,000 people. And it was in the newspaper, and there's going to be riots, it's going to be terrible. And he said, he always smoked a pipe, "There will be no violence." He met with Dr. King before he was active with Dr. King. "There will be no violence. It will be a peaceful demonstration, and we'll be going." I said, "We will?" And he said, "Yes, we will, and you will be fine." So we went, and we sat right down on the 3rd row, and we heard Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech on the 3rd row. And that's when I decided, well, I'm going to be a civil rights lawyer. That's what I'm going to do. When I became a civil rights lawyer after law school, I remember we were trying to integrate schools in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we had a whole big population of people who were trying to intervene in the lawsuit, Black residents who were trying to intervene in the lawsuit. And the court said we couldn't be a party to the school suit brought by the Justice Department to integrate the schools. And I said, the community wants to speak for themselves. They don't want the Justice Department to speak for them. They want to speak for themselves. And here we were with all these people, and they said, "I'm sorry, you can't come in." And that was profoundly hurtful, not just for myself, but for the people who were with me, that we were trying to be in the system. We were trying to be participants in the system. And the judge, who cared nothing about us, said, "I'm in charge. I say who speaks for the people. You don't speak for the people." So that was very hurtful. And so I was determined after that we would always speak for ourselves, and nobody could tell us that we couldn't speak. We would always speak for ourselves. A moment that changed my life forever was meeting my husband. When I was in New York working for the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, on the same floor at 10 Columbus Circle was the public television station, PBS. And that's where my husband worked. And we hit it off and we got married, and he said, I want to go back to where I'm from. And that was the beginning of my life in Los Angeles. We never made it back. We had 2 children, Leslie and Drew. They went to school here at University Elementary School. After I worked with the Native American tribes, I went to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and I did civil rights cases for 7 or 8 years. And I worked for the city attorney, Bert Pines, for a couple of years. And then I left the city attorney's office where I was trying to thump people over the head for affirmative action. And then I went to the National Health Law Program, which was a legal services backup center. And our job was to go out from a specialty law firm in legal services to help the neighborhood legal services lawyers who were bringing health cases. So I did that for 16 years. That was a long period of involvement nationally in local legal service advocacy. And then when I left there, I went to work at THE Clinic, which was To Help Everyone Clinic, a community clinic founded by 8 women to service reproductive health needs of women in South LA. And we lobbied and we railed against bad things that were happening to women. It was a women-centered clinic. After that, I went to, I opened my own community kitchen. I was interested in helping people enjoy one another and learn healthy cooking. So I did a community kitchen for several years. After that, I was invited to go to Charles Drew University of Medicine and Science as special assistant to the president for community affairs. So I was able to build on all of the connections that I had done in my previous work to try to keep the university relevant to community efforts and community concerns, and that's what I'm still doing today. I'm mostly centered on my own community and, just really amazed at the progress that we've made from where we started in this country, and the brilliance of our people and the heart of our people, and we were talking about the laughter of our people, and the sense of community that we build with one another that doesn't get reported in the news. There's richness. There's a richness in our culture and our bonds that just is very, very special. And I don't think it's understood very well, but I recognize it and I am part of it. And so I feel very blessed. I feel very blessed by that, by the community that I'm part of.